Welcome to the Global Audio Archive. We all know that feeling at the turn of the year or on a Monday morning. We are bursting with motivation. We make big resolutions. From today, I will be a completely new person. But in most cases, the inevitable happens after a few weeks. The enthusiasm fades, the old patterns return, and we are left feeling frustrated. We often believe that we lack discipline or willpower. But James Clear has proven in his book, Atomic Habits, that the problem lies not with us, but with our system. In the next few minutes, we will decipher the architecture of human behavior. We will discuss why your goals may actually be hindering your success and how you can achieve anything through the power of 1% improvement. The power of small steps. Imagine you are flying from Los Angeles to New York. If the pilot turns the nose of the plane just 3.5 degrees south during takeoff, you would land in Washington, D.C. instead of New York. You would hardly notice this tiny movement during takeoff. But over the distance of an entire continent, this small deviation leads to a completely different destination. This is exactly how habits work. James Clear calls this the compound effect of self-improvement. If you improve by just 1% in one thing every day, at the end of a year, you will not only be a little better, but mathematically about 37 times better than you were at the beginning. However, if you deteriorate by 1% every day, you will sink to almost zero. The problem is human perception. In everyday life, we don't notice this 1% immediately. If you spend an hour learning a foreign language today, you won't have mastered it tomorrow. If you eat an unhealthy meal today, you won't suddenly be sick tomorrow. Since the results lie in the distant future, but the costs are incurred in the present, our brain often gives up too soon. Clear calls this the Plateau of Latent Potential. We work hard, invest energy, and see no results for weeks. We find ourselves in the valley of disappointment. But success is a delayed result. A habit must cross a critical threshold before its effect becomes apparent. Think of an ice cube in a room that is slowly heating up. Nothing happens at -5 degrees. Nothing happens at -2 degrees. Only at 0 degrees does the ice begin to melt. A single degree difference causes the transformation that the degrees before it were only working toward. Identity instead of goals. Another reason we often fail is our focus on goals. We think in terms of results. I want to run a marathon, or I want to earn $1 million. Goals are good for setting a direction, but they are bad for making progress. When you achieve your goal, the change is only temporary. If you tidy up a messy room, you have a clean room. But if you don't change your habits, it will soon be messy again. James Clear suggests a more radical approach. Focus on who you want to be. There are 3 levels of change: results, processes, and identity. True behavioral change is identity change. Imagine 2 people trying to quit smoking. Someone offers both of them a cigarette. The first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." That sounds logical, but internally they still identify as a smoker trying to act against their nature. The second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." That's a huge psychological difference. Every action you take is like casting a vote for the person you want to become. When you make your bed every morning, you are voting to be a tidy person. When you sit down at your desk every day, you are voting to be a productive person. It's not about being perfect. It's about winning the majority of votes for the right identity. The architecture of habit. To understand how we control habits, we need to know their cycle. Every habit consists of 4 phases: trigger, craving, response, and reward. The trigger signals the brain to start an action. The craving is the motivating force behind it. The response is the actual habit we perform. And the reward is the goal that tells the brain, "That was worth it, remember that for the future." From this, Clear derives his 4 laws of behavior change. The first rule is, make it obvious. We often underestimate how much our environment influences our behavior. If vitamins are hidden in the cupboard, we forget about them. If the remote control is lying on the sofa, we turn on the TV. Design your environment so that the good cues are impossible to miss. One of the most powerful methods for doing this is habit stacking. Link a new habit to an existing one. The formula is, after current habit, I will do new habit. For example, after pouring my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. The second law is, make it attractive. Our brains are driven by dopamine. We often anticipate the reward more than the action itself. Use temptation bundling. Allow yourself something you love only while you are doing something you have to do. If you enjoy listening to podcasts but dislike doing housework, listen to your favorite podcast only while tidying up. This way, your brain associates the tedious task with a positive feeling. The third law is, make it easy. Human nature follows the path of least resistance. The more friction there is between you and a task, the less likely you are to do it. This is where the 2-minute rule helps. Every new habit should start so small that it takes less than 2 minutes. Exercise every day becomes put on your running shoes. Read one book a week becomes read one page. Once you've started, the hardest part is over. A habit must first be established before it can be optimized. You can't renovate a house that hasn't been built yet. The fourth law is, make it satisfying. We repeat behaviors when the immediate experience is positive. The problem with good habits is that the reward is often in the future, while the costs are immediate. With bad habits, it's the other way around. The reward is immediate, while the punishment comes much later. To get around this effect, we need to create small, immediate rewards for ourselves. A habit tracker where you mark across every day is a visual reward. It's satisfying to see your progress. The most important rule here is, don't break the chain. If you miss a day, that's human. But never miss 2 days in a row. The first misstep is an accident, the second is the beginning of a new bad habit. Summary and outlook. Atomic habits are not a magical overnight solution. They are a system based on consistency and structure. It's not about reinventing the wheel every time, but about improving daily processes by a tiny bit. As James Clear aptly puts it, we don't fall to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. If you do the little things right, if you design your environment wisely and solidify your identity step by step, the big results will follow all on their own. Choose a single habit. Make it so tiny that you can't fail, and start right now. See you next time in the Global Audio Archive. Stay curious.